to life.
He still takes the field? Yep. Love it. Get a good deep breath. Get ready to roll here. Only about one thing tonight, getting the W's, so gotta be around the end to do that. Get ready to roll tonight, boys. Go have some fun. Don't get me any more fired up than I already am. All the way to the checkered. You're fine. Nobody's got to run. Checker time, baby! Really proud of you, man. Drove your butt off tonight. We had the best start here, bud. Yeah, boys. Way to rebound. Great job. Great job, bud. Really good job. Appreciate you hanging in there with us all weekend. What a weekend. Good job. Thank you.
And welcome back to Racing in the Draft. We're back to Saturday night broadcast. Finally, some semblance of normalcy, other than we had a doubleheader of NASCAR today with the trucks at Darlington and the Xfinity race just finishing up at Portland. We get about an 18-hour break, and we'll hit the track again tomorrow at Darlington for the Cup Series. Meanwhile, welcome back college football. Yeah, my brain's tired at this point. Looking at 2 NASCAR races in one day, getting ready for this video, and watching a lot of really good college football. Doesn't stop yet. We've got another full day tomorrow. Wish my Hokies the best of luck, but it's going to be a tough matchup against those Gamecocks of South Carolina. But we're here to talk about NASCAR and racing in the Cup Series and Draftkings. So let's get to it. We are at Darlington for the Southern 500, sponsored by Cookout. Last week, we had the Coke Zero Sugar 400 at Daytona. What an epic finish without overtime. Don't see that very often at Daytona, especially 4 wide at the finish line. The track's barely wide enough to go 3 wide, much less 4 wide. They were really pushing their luck at that point. But what an awesome finish to that race last week. It was a lot of fun. All right, if you're new here, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button and share with anybody that you think might find all this information useful, because we have a ton of data and information to go through. Let's look at last week's Daytona optimal lineups and other drivers who may not made the optimal lineup. But pretty much as expected, it take most everybody starting outside the top 10. In fact, out of the top 20. Except for Ryan Blaney, who made me look a little silly. Starting first, finishing first. And that doesn't happen very often in Daytona or Talladega, but occasionally it does. But he did lead 27 laps. He did make the optimal lineup. Good for Ryan Blaney. He, I guess, is owed 7 million beers. I'm not even sure what the price tag is on that. I mean, I guess $2.50, $3 a beer. So approximately $15 to $20 million that Alex Bowman is now promised Ryan Blaney for winning that race and getting him into the playoffs. I'm not sure that getting into the playoffs gives him that much of a winning, but hey, whatever. They'll settle it out like men. All right, Justin Haley, Cole Custer, Eric Jones, Chris Buescher, Chase Elliott were the other 5 drivers who made the optimal lineup. And just outside the optimal lineup, Daniel Suarez almost getting that win. Boy, that would have been a big win for Daniel Suarez, considering he doesn't have a ride for next year. Todd Gilliland, Ty Gibbs, Ryan Preece, John Hunter Nemechek, Cody Ware, who led a whopping 23 laps. Good for Cody Ware. Quite impressive. Michael McDowell, Josh Berry. But our optimal lineup challenge is no longer knotted up at the top. We've got Chase Elliott with 9 optimal lineups, ending the regular season as the winner of that. But we don't stop there. We go for the next 10 races. We get to the very end of the entire season, including the playoffs, to see who will take the optimal lineup challenge. But good for Chase Elliott getting the regular season title. All right, enough for Daytona until we get to Talladega in a couple weeks. But we are talking Darlington, the Southern 500, one of the crown jewels. Will Denny Hamlin get another win at Darlington? Can Chase Briscoe go back-to-back in Southern 500s? Can Eric Jones get another Southern 500? I'll have to wait and see. Let's see what the data says. But this track type is a steep, high tire wear, intermediate style track, 1.33 miles in length. The turns are completely different. Turns 1 and 2 are banked at 25 degrees. Turns 3 and 4 are banked at 23 degrees. And turns 1 and 2 are much more wide and sweeping. It's almost a double apex where you actually kind of get off the gas to go into turn 1. And about halfway through turn 1, you get back to the gas, go up to the fence or the ropes or the wall, whatever you want to call it. Ride that wall as hard and fast as you can. Let off the throttle, let your car drift back down to exit turn 2 and back to the throttle again all the way to turns 3 and 4. And you let off and you brake hard getting into turn 3 and then just gas it up about at the apex of the corner and come flying off to finish out the lap. So it is quite a fun racetrack, to say the least. I love racing it and iRacing, and I'm sure these guys love racing it too. But the tire wear here is tremendous. It's one of the higher tire wear tracks that we run. Richmond 2 weeks ago ended up being a very, very high tire wear track with lots of fall off. Practice speeds, we didn't see quite as much fall off, at least speed and time wise, as we did at Richmond. But we definitely have almost a 2-second fall off over the course of a run. So lots of opportunities for strategies, tire savings, fuel savings, all of the things that will come into play. And strategy for this race is an absolute must, because it's not an easy place to pass, to say the least. Other tracks with high tire wear that we can look at, of course, Dover, Miami Homestead, Kansas, Darlington. You can also put Vegas, and it's a lot shorter of a track, but I guess we can put Richmond in that high tire wear track comparison also. So any of those tracks that have a lot of strategy built into them with tire wear and potentially fuel mileage and those types of things get played in. Optimal lineups from the past 4 Darlington races. Let's take a look. Now remember, the spring race is only a 400-mile race. The fall race is the traditional Southern 500, which is 500 miles. And that equates to a difference between 297 to 200 or 367 laps. So 70 laps difference between the two races. So it does change the dynamics slightly, but we're still looking to run at least 1 or 2 dominators. And the dominators will also kind of fall into people we think that will finish hopefully in the top 5. Then you're looking at 1 additional driver. So what you're really doing is looking at 3 drivers that you think could start up front, stay up front, lead laps, and finish in the top 5. Then we're looking at about 3 more drivers for place differential and a lot of and value savings. So you're kind of looking for 3 of your higher end drivers that are going to lead a lot, stay up front, be there all day. Then 3 drivers who are value and have place differential. And that's kind of how the makeup happens for Darlington. So let's look at the spring race from 2025, earlier this year. William Byron absolutely dominated, 243 laps led, but came home in second place. Denny Hamlin ended up getting the win and didn't even make the optimal lineup. Ryan Blaney, starting in 9th, only led 2 laps, but did have 50 fast laps. But so he started in the top 10, finished in the top 10 and 5th, and got 66 points. I mean, the discrepancy between Ryan Blaney and William Byron was pretty astronomical, 66 points to 140. So a 70, 80 point swing between the highest and the second place. Tyler Reddick from 7th to 4th led 42 laps, getting 63.4 points. Christopher Bell, 17th to 3rd, was definitely one of the cars for place differential and finishing position. And then we had Ty Dillon and Shane Van Gisbergen, our value and place differential. And as you can see, they only moved 13 spots and 16 spots. So it's not a ton of place differential. It's much more value when it comes to that. And we'll kind of notice that as a trend over the next couple races we look at here. The Southern 500 from 2024 once again, 263 laps led by Kyle Larson. He started in 4th, finished in 4th. Then he didn't have to win the race and still had 123 points. Denny Hamlin started in 14th, finished in 7th. So decent amount, a little bit of place differential there. Not what I would consider a real place differential, but a top 10 finisher. 70 points. Chase Briscoe, 67, starting in 3rd, finishing in 1st, and only leading 29 laps. Then we had some value. I mean, Chase Briscoe definitely would be value at under 7,500. But Corey LaJoie and Ryan Preece, both under $6,000, absolute value. And not a ton of place differential. I mean, 19th to 9th and 30th to 12th. So 18 spots for Ryan Preece. So $1,900 left over for last fall's Southern 500. All right, the spring race of 2024. Brett Keselowski getting the win, starting in 2nd, getting 66.95 points. Josh Berry was a big place differential and value at 6,700, starting in 33rd, finishing in 3rd. Big swing for place differential, giving him the 73 points and the most points for that race. The other thing we need to make sure we also pay attention to, so when we get to our calculations, the highlighted of yellow, so kind of the higher price drivers, what type of points do they get? And that's what we need to kind of draw our line on when we're kind of doing the calculations to find out if a driver is even somebody we want to put into our top 15, top 20 drivers, or are they somebody that we want to forego and put to the side? So 55 points there, 56 points, 63, and 65 points. And as you can tell, the Southern 500, the one with a little bit extra, the point value does go up a little bit. So the 400-mile race, it's around 55, where the longer 500-mile race is 63.75 or 65.95 points. D Pope, happy Saturday, buddy. What's going on? I was on Emerson duty. Nothing better, though. Oh, you're on baby duty again. Were you able to get them fast asleep already? Or did you just sit them in front of the computer and let me melodramatically put them to sleep talking about NASCAR and points? That might put some kids to sleep pretty quickly. But either way, glad you could make it tonight. But once again, I mean, it's 1 to 2 dominators. She fell asleep to college football. Oh, man. I mean, I guess she's not watching the LSU Clemson game, because that is a barn burner right now. 10-10 with 3 minutes left in the third quarter. We've got a game in Death Valley. And yes, they're both Tigers. They both play in Death Valley, and they're both tied. Should be an interesting game. All right. The Fall 23 Southern 500, the longer of the 2 races at Darlington in 2023. Once again, Kyle Larson, Tyler Reddick. I mean, you can kind of see some semblance here. Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick missed the Fall 24 race, but Tyler Reddick has made 3 of the last 4 optimal lineups. Kyle Larson has been in there 1, 2. Who else is somebody who's in here a lot? Hamlin got only 1. But yeah, Tyler Reddick seems to continually always be in this optimal lineup at Darlington. We'll have to see where he's starting and what his practice laps look like, because he actually is not as strong as he was last year compared to this year. So we'll see. All right, let's look at our top 15 and point getters and where they started from. That way we can kind of draw some conclusions on who we take, who we don't take, and those types of things. And as you can see here, so each one of these is the races. This is their starting spots. This has nothing to do with pricing or driver. It's strictly where do they start and how many points does it take to get into the top 15. So the top 15, the average is 34.44. So it's 35, 34.7, 31.4, 36. And this is important because this actually really kind of gives us a really good idea on if we don't think a driver is going to get to around this 35-point mark, we just don't need to be putting them in our lineups. And as you can kind of come up here and see, you can have some drivers, like Ty Dillon had 23 points. So it's not like they're completely out. This is just an average, but it is something to kind of compare to. So about 35 points is kind of the bottom of the top 15 points that we want to get. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to eliminate about half of the field. So when you've got 38 drivers, half the field, of course, is 19. And we want to try to figure out, okay, which of those 15 to 20 drivers do we want to have as our kind of our core? And then, our moderate core, our medium core. And then you kind of come up with a conclusion of, okay, these 6 drivers out of those 15 to 20 drivers, that's who are really going to be the bulk of my core. And the others are just kind of the fillers. And then the other, 20 to 18 drivers, you don't really have to worry about all that much. I mean, you'll put 1 or 2 of them in here or there, but they're not going to be, they're going to be in the 5% or less owned, at least for my lineups. And that's kind of how I build my lineups, and it kind of helps me eliminate some of what I think isn't going to be there. And I miss every once in a while, but that has seemed to be kind of a factor that I've looked at that's kind of been working over the last probably 2 years on at least getting to a break even, if not making a little bit of money. And sometimes winning a lot of money. But either way, so about 34 points, and it looks like about 4.8 come from the top 10. So the bulk of it is really coming from the guys that start up front and finish up front. And that kind of goes back to when we're building our lineups, we're kind of building that core 3 of starting up front, finishing up front, and potentially dominating. So this is almost 5 of the top 10 drivers are coming from the top 10 starting spots. And then it's 4.6 from 11 through 20, 3.2 from 21 to 30, and only 2.4 coming from 31st or worst. It's just, this is a difficult racetrack, and if you just don't have speed and practice and qualifying, typically it's very hard to work your way through the field. Pope says, why did they not do the 20,000 to first purse for Daytona, but brought it back this week? Oh, dude, I don't have a clue why Draftkings does what they do. What do they even have? Oh, they've got the 100. Oh, because I know probably why. Because this is a crown jewel. Last week's race was not a crown jewel. That would be potentially my guess. I don't know. It's Labor Day weekend. They think more people are going to watch on a Sunday night. Something in their algorithm says these are the races they need to do it and not do it. I mean, also, how many people are going to be? I mean, 30,000 people have to fill the Chrome Horn 100,000. I mean, that's a crap load of lineups to go up against. Yeah, I mean, if you hit it, it's great. But if we look at it, I mean, you have got to be, so if you were to do max fill, which is 20 lineups, that's $80. You have to get at least one lineup in the top 25 of 30, almost 30,000. That's just, it's very, very difficult. Now, I mean, if you can hit the first, it's great. You know, you're paying off your car at that point if you do that. It's just, and finishing in first and not having somebody else have the same lineup. Like I had first in the truck series today almost the entire race until the very end, and the whole time I was splitting with 4 people. Now I was not doing the Chrome Horn. I was doing the $1 and the quarter 20 maxes. But I also had the $12 single entry that also had that same lineup. So I ended up making some decent money today in the truck series, but then gave a lot of it back in the Xfinity race this evening. So it's give her a break. It's come and go. Do you suggest the SE engine block? Which one is the engine block? Let's take a look. Hold on. Nascar. The single entry engine block. Absolutely. I love the single entry engine. The single entries are absolutely some of my favorites. I love the 3 max and the single entries. You're going against 1,000 other entries. And the other engine block, it's 784. And if we look at how the breaks down, to get your money back, you've got to finish in the top 159. Whereas before, on the other one, you've got to finish in the top 25 compared to, what did I say, 30,000 people? For this one, you've got to make it in the top 159 against 784. So, yeah, once again, single entry, you got to hit it, and you got to do it right. But, yeah, the odds are just much better in the single entry, even though one driver in that single entry has an issue or problem, and that entry is pretty much done. So, what I like to do is I like to do the triple max and then do 3 single entries with those triple maxes. So that way I'm kind of spreading out my single entries with 3, and then I still use those 3 entries in the 3 max entries. I also put those into the 20 max entries in case one of them happens to hit. But those are the 3 that I do are really the ones that I hand build. I really focus on who I really think is going to do really well. Like, Denny Hamlin, who is very dominant at this style track, a William Byron, a Kyle Larson, or who's going to be my best potential place differential. Like this week, it's probably going to be Brad Keselowski is going to be pretty heavily owned. And I just kind of build from there. And those would be the guys that I would really focus in on for my single entries. So hopefully that helps make sense, Pope. All right, let's get down to it. Let's get to the driver breakdown and kind of see what we've got to work with. All right, we've got Denny Hamlin here. Okay, for anybody that's new to the channel and doesn't know this, and anybody that has been here a lot, like Pope, you kind of know what all this information is, but I always like to give it on the first driver so that everyone knows. So this line here coordinates with this line up here. Oops. So the 5 last races at Darlington. So spring of 25, the 2 races in 24, and the 2 races in 23. Denny Hamlin has 1 win, 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s, 4 top 20s, a 53.2 Draftkings average. That's his average. So remember back when we were looking at what a driver needed to do to potentially make the optimal lineup for a high-priced driver, and it was 55. Well, Denny Hamlin's averaging 53.2, so that's an indication that Denny Hamlin typically is a driver who does, number one, really well in just regular racing, but also typically does pretty well when it comes to DraftKings. He's got a 9.8 average finish and a 9.0 average running position. An average running position is where they run throughout the entire race, where the average finish is the average of the 5 races. He did win this race in the spring race of this year. Then we've got his total starts at Darlington in the Cup Series. He's got 26 total starts. He's got 6 wins, 16 of 26 top 5s, 20 of 26 top 10s, and 23 of 26 top 20s with a 7.1 average finish. Denny Hamlin is extremely good at Darlington. 23 times, only 3 times out of his 26 starts has he finished worse than 20th. Then we've got his wins so far this year. He's got a total of 4 wins. The Cup Championship trophy over here signifies that he is one of the 16 drivers in the playoffs, and currently he sits plus 23 to the cut line. So this number just kind of gives us an indication of, are they locked in to the next round? Are they on the outside looking in? Which kind of gives an indication of what they might be willing to do to try to potentially win, or it could also be they might be willing to do too much and could end up costing us some. Pope says, I built a decent dummy line. Byron, Bell, Briscoe, Smith, Jones, and SVG. Okay. I can't remember right off the top of my head where all of them are starting, but if I remember correctly, I mean, SVG is starting, I think, 20th. Jones, we'll get to those, but I'll try to remember to look back on as we get to those. But Byron's good for a potential dominator or top 5. Same thing with Bell. Briscoe won this race last fall. Zane Smith is really good here. The one that I actually like a lot, just coming off the cuff without looking at it, was Todd Gillen. Does really, really well at Darlington also. Eric Jones is really, really good, and SVG says this is his favorite oval style track. So we'll see what happens. All right. Oh yeah. Then the practice speed. So Denny Hamlin is starting in first. So he's starting from the pole position. Sometimes that's good. Sometimes that's bad. Most of the time it's actually kind of bad in DraftKings to have the pole position. But for Denny Hamlin, who has an average finish this high up there, and he runs really well, starting first is not necessarily bad. It could be a potential dominator. He was 19th in single lap practice. So they split the drivers into 2 practice sessions, and they had about 18 or 19 drivers in each practice. And what that does is gives them a little bit more space, so they're not kind of running up on top of other drivers while they're practicing. I kind of like it, but it throws some real discrepancies because of how the tire wears at Darlington, especially with a green racetrack, and what that is a very clean, where it's sat overnight, they've run the sweepers over top of it, and they've gotten rid of all of the marbles and all of the rubber that's in it. So when you first hit the track, it's green, and it's very, very fast, has a lot of grip. And by the time the first group finishes, because you've got 18 or 19 drivers out there running 40 laps each, the rubber begins to build into the little pockets inside the pavement, which then creates, it ends up being a little bit more slick. It also starts to marble. Those marbles are a little bit sketchy and can cause the car to be a little bit looser, which causes slower speeds. So the first group will always run faster than the second group, especially at these high tire wear tracks like Darlington. Used to be this way at Atlanta before they repaved it. Richmond this past weekend, we saw the same thing between Group 1 and Group 2. So Group 2 will be slower on their practice speeds compared to Group 1. The problem is the Group 2 practicers are all of your playoff drivers. Group 1 is typically the drivers who had bad races last week or were not in the playoffs. So it kind of throws a little bit of a... it doesn't show a true equal speed between Group 1 and Group 2. Now, Group 2, of course, will be very equalized, but as you could see, Denny Hamlin, who's starting from the pole, was 19th and 24th. 19th in single lap, 24th in 15 consecutive lap average, and he did 45 total laps of practice. So let's look at his practice speeds. So the white line is the average for all of the drivers, Group 1 and Group 2 all together. AJ Allmendinger, when I was going through and looking at all of these, kind of had the most consistent practice of everyone. So he is the control car for all of the comparisons. Yeah, AJ Allmendinger, the road course ringer, is the control for this race. So Denny Hamlin's practice speeds, as you can see, are slower until they finally get kind of equalized on tires. Remember, they were in two different groups. AJ was in the first group, Denny Hamlin was in the second group. And then it became very average, and in fact, Denny kind of started to surpass what AJ's speeds were. And Denny Hamlin did a ton of practice laps. So, and as you can see, it falls off dramatically over the first 10 laps, and then the tires begin to equalize. Or not equalize, but throughout the speeds begin to kind of level off. So, I mean, we're a 29.5 on lap 2. Lap 1 you kind of throw out because they're coming up to speed. But by lap 2, they're 29.5 to just under 30. And by lap 20, they're at almost 31.5. So a full almost 2 seconds fall off over the first 20 laps. But then over the next 20 laps, we go from 31.25, 31.5 for the most part, only down to 32. So only about a 0.75 fall off, where we fell off almost 2 seconds over the first 20, and then we fall off another 0.75 or 3/4 of a second over the course of the next 20. So that's what they kind of say is you kind of gotten rid of all the really soft rubber, and you kind of gotten down to what not the core of the tire, but the main part of the tire. And then that takes a little longer to kind of wear off a little bit. That and rubber's gotten pushed into the pavement, which the other tire won't wear as much. Lots of different science that goes into it. But either way, that's kind of the natural fall off for this weekend. Okay, so now let's put him on the calculator. And remember, we kind of want to be in this 60-point range for optimal. So Denny Hamlin, starting from the pole, he's got an average finish of about 8th. So this line here is the same as the last 5 races at Darlington. The last 5 trend is the last 5 normal oval style track. So it takes out the road courses and it takes out the super speedways. But it does have like Richmond, Iowa, Pocono, Michigan, and those types of tracks. And the trend for the last 5 of those races, Denny Hamlin has a first and a 24th, and he's got an average of 8.0. And of course, for Darlington, he's got a first, and the worst is 25th, and a 9.8 average finish, which kind of comes to about an 8th to 9th place average finish. All right, so let's put him on the calculator here. We go to first, and then we go to 8th. I mean, that definitely... Now, if he can go and lead 120 laps, so this race is 367 laps. The first stage, if I remember correctly, is 115 laps. The second stage is another 115 laps, giving us to 230, which then gives us a 137 lap run for stage 3. So 115, 115, and 137. Realistically, you can make it on a one stop in stage 1 and stage 2. Well, actually, yeah, I mean, that's almost 60 laps, 55 to 60 laps. Fuel-wise, you can make it. Tire-wise, I mean, you're already begging for tires after 15 laps. You get to 40 laps, you're really starting to ask for tires. As you could see, the fall-off was almost 2 3/4 to almost 3 seconds of fall-off. So you're at that point, you're almost begging for tires. So realistically, this is going to be 2 stops in stage 1. Then, of course, you'll get the break. Then 2 stops in stage 2. And depending on how things go for stage 3, could be 3 stops. So realistically, Denny Hamlin starting on the pole, if he goes and runs a third of stage 1 and first. And if he builds enough of a lead and we have green flag pit stops, he could potentially lead about 80 laps or so, just in stage 1. You get about the fast laps typically for this track style is about a 3-to-1 or 4-to-1 ratio on laps led to fast laps. So 80 to 1 to 20. He could probably even go to maybe 25 fast laps being in the lead. That gives us 60.25, and that's even if he goes and falls and finishes to 8th. If he finishes better, let's say he gets a top 3, now we're at 70. So Denny Hamlin's absolutely in play because I think he goes and gets the lead to start because he knows how important it is to have clean air, meaning that you are the first car to hit the air and you're not following a car. And what that does is it has more downforce on the nose of the car, which gives you more car control. Once you get the second car back, you're now in disturbed air and you don't have as full of downforce on the front of your car, which then makes the front of the car wiggle around a little too much and it makes it much harder to get through the corner. So Denny Hamlin's gonna absolutely understands that, and he talked about it on his podcast many, many times. He's going to want to take the lead and lead as long as he can, at least in the first stage, if not for the entire race. He'd love to be in first the entire race, but that probably won't happen because if we have green flag pit stops, we'll have people like Brett Keselowski who will go and make it a one stop between stage 1 and stage 2. Now, the fall off is big enough that may be costly. Just ask Brian Priest about that from Richmond last weekend or 2 weekends ago. Yeah, that almost really bit him in the butt really bad. Actually did for Draftkings purposes. But either way, so Denny Hamlin, with all that being said, is absolutely one of the drivers that I will be targeting for my core. Just start up front, stay up front, lead a bunch of laps, and kind of be a dominator and a decent finishing position. All right, William Byron at 10,700. And remember this spring, he led 240, 250 laps. Really good at Darlington. If we look at his history, he's got 1 win in the last 5 races, 3 top 5s, 4 top 10s, an 8.6 average finish. Look at that DraftKings average, 60.1. Very, very high DraftKings average. 5.4 average running position. Finished in second in the spring race. And 14 total starts, 5 top 5s, 7 top 10s, 9 top 20s, a 15th place average finish. Like I said, William Byron's just as good. Now, I don't expect William Byron to get up and lead during stage 1. Now, can he get up there and lead halfway through stage 1, stage 2, somewhere in there? Absolutely. But I'm not going to fully say that I'm committed to him being a dominator when it comes to leading the race. But he does have a little bit of wiggle room on a little bit of place differential. Because we saw it doesn't take a lot of place differential to be in play here. And if we look at his practice sheets, now, because he was in Group 2, he didn't fire off quite as quick as AJ. But once again, just kind of like Denny, he follows the average line really, really well. Very consistent. No peaks and valleys. Very consistent laps throughout. And really kind of follows the average throughout. So practice speeds, no problems there. He's finished first and worst of 30th, and in the last 5, first and 31st. So all good there. No real big issues. Nothing stands out. So let's put him on the calculator, starting in 11th. Of course, the average finish is 12th. That's not going to quite cut it. And if he goes and leads 20 laps and has 10 fast laps, it's a 39.5. That's definitely not going to cut it. So we're going to need for him to get to at least a top 3. And we could possibly, let's say he goes and leads 30 laps. That's 61 points. So William Byron needs to have a top 3 finish, lead 30 laps, and have 10 fast laps. Very possible. William Byron's very good at this track. Like I said, in the spring, he led 200 and some odd laps. So very good. His average finishes are solid here at an 8.6. No problems with any of those things. Now, if I'm deciding on percentages, where do I think William Byron should fall compared to Denny Hamlin? And I'm drawing the race up differently. I'm looking William Byron to make consistent moves up through the field over the course of the race. I'm not expecting him to go out and get to the front immediately and lead a ton of laps. So it's much more of a start up front, hang out up there, or start in the top 10. What's up, Wyatt? What's going on, buddy? Thanks for joining in tonight. Hit me with your questions. So I don't mind the William Byron play. I don't think I love it as much as a Denny Hamlin as far as a true dominator may go. He may get up there by stage 2 with decent pit stops and decent strategy, but it's not somebody that's starting in the top 5 that I think can get to the front and lead real quickly. Hopefully that makes sense. But I think William Byron is easily somebody who could finish in the top 3. I mean, he's got an average finish of 8.6. Kyle Larson, my guy, 10,500. Starting in 5th. Practice speeds were 23rd in single lap, 14th and 15th lap consecutive average, which wasn't bad considering he was in Group 2. In the last 5 races at Darlington, he does have 1 win, 2 top 5, 2 top 10s, 3 top 20s. But his average finishes, it's either sink or swim, and that's pretty much typical Kyle Larson. It's either he's going to go out and he's going to win or probably finish top 5, or he's going to finish 38th or 37th. Wyatt says, I missed practice in qualifying. I don't know what's happening yet, so I'll just listen to what you got. I mean, practice was pretty standard. If you go back and listen to the beginning of the my little presentation, the first group was fast. The second group was slow. The problem is the second group is the people that we think are going to dominate, and the first group was the group that's probably going to come through the field and have place differential. So it was kind of a typical practice. There wasn't anything that really kind of stood out other than the constant for this week is AJ Allmendinger, and he had really good lap times. He was in stage 1, so he had a clean green racetrack to start, but even then he still was with an under average the entire way. Kyle Larson, he kind of flirted up and down with the average for most of it. Not bad practice speeds, not great practice speeds. Kyle Larson's going to be one of those he's going to finish in the top 5 or he's going to finish 30th or worst. I mean, he's got a first place finish and a 37th place finish in the last 5 races here with a 19.2 average finish. It's super hit or miss. So it's one of those that if you think this is the weekend for Kyle Larson, put him in your lineups. If you don't think it's the weekend for Kyle Larson, don't put him there. Kyle Larson's probably one of the toughest currently over the last, 10, 12 weeks to put into lineups because he has the ability and potential between he and his team to go and do what he did at Bristol and absolutely destroy the field and dominate and get 150 Draftkings points. They also have a tendency sometimes to just be not good, and starting in 5th, being not good does not work well for Kyle Larson. He'll overdrive it. Should we focus on jamming as mini top studs? I mean, the salary cap's going to say that you're going to want 3 drivers that are probably 8,000 or more that you think are dominators / top 10 finishing spots. The other 3 drivers are going to be your value drivers that have the best potential for place differential. You think Denny smokes him this weekend? There's a real strong possibility because he's mad right now, and when Denny gets mad, he gets focused, and when Denny gets focused, it's sometimes a lot of trouble. Now, he didn't say he was super happy with his car, and he didn't say that it was pretty good. He said that they definitely kind of struggled and have got some things to work on throughout the race from practice. But I mean, you kind of have to think about what Denny is kind of going through right now, and some of the stuff that came out from the court hearings. He really does not like the leadership and the ownership at NASCAR. Um, he wants to get to 60 wins more so than he wants to get a championship. And this is one of his absolute best tracks. As long as his pit crew doesn't screw him up, and they've actually done really, really well this year, I think Denny Hamlin, this could be a real snooze fest with Denny Hamlin just smoking the field. So yeah, I think Denny Hamlin could easily smoke the field. Pope says, I think last week's finish is the start of Larson's playoff dominance. Yeah. I mean, Darlington's one of his kind of better racetracks. He loves to rip the boards, as they call it, or run right next to the wall. He and Tyler Reddick just have a really, really good knack for running about 6 inches off the wall at as much throttle as they can give it. And a lot of times that gives you a little bit less tire wear. If you do happen to slip a little bit, you don't hurt the car too much. Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping Kyle Larson goes on a run. It's been a long time. It's been tough to be a fan recently, but we'll have to wait and see. But what does Kyle Larson need to do to get to that 60-point optimal lineup? Finishing in third doesn't do it if you don't lead any laps. Even finishing in first without leading any laps is tough. But if you finish in first, you lead laps. What's the least amount of laps that Kyle Larson needs to? So finishing first, he needs to lead at least 30 laps and have 10 fast laps to get to 61 points. I mean, absolutely possible. I mean, the thing is, you gotta, when you build your lineup, you gotta build the lineup of, okay, I think Denny Hamlin's going to dominate and he's going to win. Okay, well, if that's the case, then Kyle Larson doesn't finish in first. Well, where does that put Kyle Larson? Third? Well, that's probably not going to make the optimal lineup. So that's where you kind of have to be careful about starting. It's absolutely possible to have multiple drivers start in the top 10 and finish in the top 10 and make the optimal lineup. They're going to have to share some of the pie when it comes to dominating, which means, Kyle Larson's going to need to go and lead 50 laps probably and have 18 fast laps and finish in third. And that's 63.6. And then that works. So if you think Denny Hamlin is going to go finish in first from the pole and lead 120 laps, well, that's 86.25. Well, both of them can play in the same pond. There's nothing wrong with that. But at 21,500 of salary cap, that's going to start to get limiting on what else you can fit in. You can probably fit in one more driver between the $9,000 and $10,000 mark. I'm not sure that you can put a William Byron, Denny Hamlin, and Kyle Larson all in one group and still be able to make a decent lineup, even though, as we saw in the past, when you've got Ty Dillon at 4,900 and Justin Haley at 5,500 from last year's or 2 years ago's Southern 500, they only got 27 and 23 points. And you had Kyle Larson lead 55 laps, Tyler Reddick lead 90 laps, and they finished first and second. 10,500, 9,300, and William Byron at 10,200. It fits. It works. It's just you got to find the right two cheapos with the right 4 expensive guys. That's the fun, interesting part about doing these lineups. Pope says, my first thought thinking into Larson is how long can Reddick hold him off? Does be blocking him? Is this type of race that Larson will zig when others are? Oh, yes, Larson will absolutely zag when everybody else zigs. He will find and do whatever he can to find clean air on the racetrack. And Kyle Larson, as good as he is at the top, he's almost equally as good at the middle and the bottom at Darlington. The problem is the tire wear on the lower section of Darlington is much rougher on tires, so you don't want to stay down there for too long. If you need to go and make a pass and do it quickly, you do it, but you don't spend a lot of laps running that bottom line. Come on, Clemson. That's not good. Sorry. Watching the race. Watching the football game. I was hoping Clemson would beat LSU. How about Florida State beating Alabama? Hopefully no Alabama fans in here tonight. I'm an ACC fan. I enjoyed the SEC. They're competitive and they're fun to watch, but I was happy to see Alabama get beat up by Florida State. Ryan Blaney, 10,200 starting in 12th. Okay, well, starting in 12th, probably got a little bit of room to run. And Ryan Blaney is one of the best at passing in this next-gen car. Now, he was 28th and 16th in the second session of practice, the slower of the two groups. He does not have a win here at Darlington. In the last 5 races, he's got 1 top 5, 3 top 10s, a 19.2 average finish. Average finish is not great. He finished in 5th here in the spring, 17 total starts with only 1 top 5, 4 top 10s, 18.8 average finish. Ugh, not great. Practice speeds. He actually ran quite a few laps and only one little hiccup towards the end, and that probably was, I know exactly when that was. That's when he was trying to make a green flag pit stop simulation, and he missed, and he had to go back around again. If you go back and watch practice, you can see Ryan Blaney trying to come in and do it. He misses pit road entry, and that's where this high value comes from. But either way, he long run speed looks really, really good, which is very typical for Ryan Blaney and the Penske cars. Mostly Ryan Blaney. He's really good on long runs. Really knows how to take care of his equipment and his tires. So yeah, let's put him on the calculator. In the last 5 races, he's got a best of 5th, worst of 37th. Now the trend line, though, this is the last 5 normal oval style tracks. The last 5, a best of 3rd, and remember, this is the average normal oval, not Daytona, Talladega, or road course. He's got a best of 3rd and a worst of 8th with a 5.0 average finish. All right, well, let's just kind of go from there. Well, first, let's change his starting spot to 12th. And if he can get to 5th, and let's say he doesn't lead any laps. Let's say he just makes it up to 5th and kind of hovers in the top 5. He'll probably end up with 15, 16 fast laps. That's 52.75. That's probably not going to quite cut it at 10,200. We're going to need some more points. So if he gets up to 2nd, 58.75. So he's going to potentially need to lead some laps. And because he's good on the long run, that means he probably could stay out longer than somebody else when they start to make some green flag pit stops, which could potentially give him the lead for a little bit. And let's say he's able to do that 2 or 3 times, and he gets to about 30 laps left. 66 points. So what happens if he falls back to that 5th place that we thought he might get to? It's 60.25. Well, the optimal plus is 60 points or more. So he falls into this by doing this exact scenario. Doesn't need to win. Needs to go and lead 30 laps, have 15 fast laps, and finish in 5th. So I have no problem taking some Ryan Blaney. He does have the best average finish over the last 5 normal oval style races. So definitely keep that in mind. And he won last week, so he's definitely got some momentum on his side. I definitely like the Ryan Blaney play also. So far, and this is why they're so expensive, all the 5 drivers or 4 drivers that we've talked about so far, I could easily keep in my core top 15 to 18 drivers. Pope says full salary line: Hamlin, Byron, Larson, SVG, Todd Gilly, and Justin Haley. I actually don't mind that lineup at all. And then you can just easily swap, do a Hamlin, Larson, Blaney. You could do Byron, Hamlin, Blaney. I mean, you can probably swap out any of those 3, any of the guys that we've talked about, with an SVG, Todd Gilly, and Justin Haley. And that's kind of how you build a 20 max lineup. Is you got to start, and that's what I'm kind of saying, is you want to find a core 5 or 6 drivers that you want to focus in as dominators / finishers, and then you want to find the same for place differentials, and then you've got these other 4 to 5 drivers that don't really quite fit in either one of them, and that becomes your core base for building lineups. And then you build, like I'll build 80 lineups and run in 3 of the 20 max, and then I'll kind of spread out instead of, because I don't like to do the chrome horn as a full 20 send. I'll do like 5 in the chrome horn, 5 in the $8, 5 in the $5, and I'll kind of spread it out. So I'll do the full 20 on the $2, the full 20 on the $1, and the full 20 on the quarter. And then, of course, I'll run all of those 80 lineups in the mini max, 50-cent one. That's kind of how I build all of my lineups. And I kind of spread out a little bit. Sometimes that works. Sometimes it's not a great strategy. But then I'll build my core 3 to 5 and put those in the single entries. All right, Christopher Bell, $10,000 starting in 7th. He was 26th and 27th in practice, and he was in practice too, so the slower of the 2 groups. And the last 5 Darlington races, he's got 2 top 5, 2 top 10s, 4 top 20s, a 11.2 average finish with a 12.4 average running position. He finished in 3rd in the spring race. He does not have a win here out of his 12 total starts and only has 3 top 5s, 4 top 10s. All right, I mean, not shabby, not awful, not great. Let's look at his practice speeds. Pretty consistent. Started off a little slower than the average, and then kind of got into the average on the longer run. So a lot like a Ryan Blaney-esque type of run. I don't mind that at all. And, Christopher Bell could easily be somebody that you could swap in and out. In the last 5 races at Darlington, he's got a best of 3rd and a worst of 23rd. I like that. It means he doesn't completely implode. It typically has a decent finish around 11th. And in the last 5 normal ovals, he's got an 8th place is his best and the 21st is his worst. Okay, pretty average, 16.2. All right, let's put him on the calculator. What does a 7th place driver need to get to make the optimal? I mean, it's going to become pretty repetitive. I mean, finish in 3rd, lead 31 laps. Probably not going to have 28 fast laps if you do that. Probably be closer to 10. 57.25. Going to need to finish at least a little better than 3rd and probably lead a few more laps starting in 7th. I don't have a problem taking some Christopher Bell. I also don't mind leaving him out. He falls right there with with pretty much everybody. I mean, right now, so far, Denny Hamlin probably is the one that that I'll have more of an ownership stake in out of these $10,000 or more drivers. Starting from the pole, I think he's got the best opportunity to lead a lot of laps, and he has the best average finish at Darlington. So far, I think out of the drivers we've gone over, between Ryan Blaney and Denny Hamlin, those are probably my two more core favorite plays. I don't mind the Christopher Bell. There's nothing wrong with it. He falls in the absolute same camp as Larson and Byron. Starting in the top 10, finish in the top 10, maybe lead some laps. Have a good day. Tyler Reddick, 9,700. Same way, starting in 4th. 22nd and single lap. 12th and 15 lap. He was in Group 2, so the slower of the two groups. He's going to need to do something because he currently is -1 on the cut line for the playoffs. He did not win a race this year. He kind of snuck his way in on points to the playoffs, which is fine. And over the course, over the last 5 races at Darlington, 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s, 3 top 20s with a 48.7 Draftkings average, 14th place average finish, but he's got an average running position of 5.9. So he runs better than he finishes. He finished in 4th in the spring race here at Darlington. 12 total starts, no wins, but a third of the time he finishes in the top 5. Half the time he finishes in the top 10. So very, very Denny Hamlin-esque. Other than the wins, he typically doesn't have awful days. The time he has an awful day at Darlington is when he decides to get into it with Chris Buescher. 12.3 average finish over the last 5 races. Look at his practice speeds. I mean, right down the alley of being average. The long run speeds gets a little bit wonky. Not as clean as I would like to see. Not awful, not great. I honestly, out of everybody that we've talked about so far, I probably have I don't like the Tyler Reddick play as much as I like the majority of what we've talked about so far. So, starting in 4th, he's going to need to do a lot of work. He's going to need to, finish in 2nd, and he's going to need to lead 40 laps probably, and have 15 fast laps. 60.75 if he does that. It plays. I just don't know how much I trust Tyler Reddick to actually get that to happen. Wyatt says I'm going to rewind. Beginning, I'll be here listening. Sounds good. We'll talk to you shortly. So far, Tyler Reddick would probably be one of the drivers that I'm going to have a little bit less ownership in. I just don't trust. His stat lines are fine. Practice speeds are fine. It's strictly as a gut play. I'm probably gonna fade off of Tyler Reddick. It won't be a complete fade, but I probably won't have much more than 10 to 15% ownership in Tyler Reddick. At some point you got to fade somebody, and Tyler Reddick's probably going to be that for me, because Chase Elliott starting in 21st is probably going to be a very, very chalky play, to say the least. At 9,500, his practice speeds were not great. They were 34th and 29th, but he was in Group 2, the slower of the two. But he was one of the slower guys in even Group 2, which being in the playoffs could be a little bit of an issue. Starting in 21st, though, does give us some optimism here because he's got an 8.4 average finish, which means he's been able to finish well, even though his average running position is 15.9. He finished in 8th in the spring race, 17 total starts, no wins, 4 top 10s and 4 top 5s and 8 top 10s. Pretty consistent, 13.4 average finish. Look at his practice speeds. He definitely took some time to get up to speed. I mean, it wasn't until lap 4 to where he even broke the average. And he kind of stayed with the average pretty much consistently throughout. Now, he did do 46 total laps of practice, and only took this out to 41. Because there's a lot of drivers that did it more than that. So pretty consistent, starting in 21st. We look at his average finishes in the last 5 races here at Darlington. The best is 3rd, the worst is 12th. He's starting in 21st. Even if he just gets to his worst on average, which is 12th, 21st to 12th. Let's say he doesn't lead laps, but has, about 10 fast laps. Well, that's 44.25. He's going to need to do better than that. If he gets to his average finish of 8.4, what does that get us to? So 8, that's 53.5. Going to need to probably do a top 5. Yep, a top 5 and lead or have 12 fast laps would get you to the 60-point range. Very doable. Now, 9,500, I mean, once again, I don't mind having Chase Elliott. Buyer beware, he's going to probably be 30, 35, 40% owned. And I kind of expect Denny Hamlin to kind of be in that same ballpark also. But because he's got the most room for place differential of the drivers we've discussed so far, yeah. I think it's much more, it's not a fade. It's just, hey, you're probably going to be even with the field if you decide to put Chase Elliott in a lot of lineups. And that's okay. But he's not going to be a sleepy pick. That's for sure. Where Chase Briscoe could absolutely be a sneaky pick, other than he won this fall race here last year. And he's got a 13.2 average finish, which is not the best. And he finished 28th here in the spring. And he started from the pole last year and finished 28th. So, and he was 18th in single lap, 32nd in 15 lap consecutive run. And his practice laps were not great, to say the least. They was all over the board. I mean, I don't like seeing this. This means you're hunting either because you're too tight or too loose. And you're just inconsistent. So I don't like his starting spot. I don't like his practice speeds. I don't like anything about it. Could he possibly go out and win? Yeah, he went out and won last year. So that's definitely a possibility. But, I mean, he's going to need to do a lot more than that. So Denny Hamlin's going to have to slip at the very beginning. And Briscoe's going to need to be the one that needs to go and lead 50 laps. He'll have more than 5 fast laps if he does that. He'll probably have 18 or 20. Put him at 20. And that's 67.5 to finish in first. What happens if he leads 50 laps? Let's say Denny Hamlin still wins and he falls to 4th. 59.5. It's possible that plays. I just don't feel real comfortable with where they practiced, how they practiced, the inconsistencies in the laps. There's a lot of things I just don't really love about the Chase Briscoe play. So I will probably fade off of Chase Briscoe a little bit. Joe Logano, $9,000, starting in 14th. He was in the second practice group. Looks like LSU's going to win the football game. Well, darn. Oh well. If Matt Family Guy happens to be watching, congratulations to your LSU Tigers. They are the true Tigers. Clemson is not. That argument has now been settled. But Joey Logano, starting in 14th, he was 27th and 20th in the second group in practice. Not bad. In the last 5 races at Darlington, no top 5s. Only 1 top 10, 20 top 20, or 4 top 20s. A 14.4 average finish. He finished in 13th in this race last year. 23 total starts, 1 win, only 6 top 10s with a 12th place average finish. Look at his practice speeds. Fire off speed was okay. Long run speed was less than average. And he's starting slightly better than average. I kind of putting him right there with Chase Briscoe play. He's got some room to run. Pope has another lineup for us to look at. Hamlin, Byron, Blaney, Zane Smith, Gilly, and Ty Dillon. $1,200 remaining. Oh, yeah, you don't need... Yes, salary cap will be... I mean, you can max out salary cap here if you want to. I try typically not to because that's typically not what happens. Like typically throughout the year, out of 36 races, we'll have 2 to 3 races that we max on our salary cap. So consistently, it tends to be money left on the table. Some places are a lot more than others. But here, I don't necessarily mind having a little bit of salary cap left over. So $1,200 remaining is fine. And I don't mind any of those drivers. I think that's. I mean, once again, it kind of goes to the whole build 3 of your high end and 3 of your place differentials. Can you look at the optimals here real quick and see salaries? I'm building for a single entry. Okay, in the Little Rainy, you want to go back and look at the optimal lineups that we do at the beginning of the video? I mean, we can real quick. You can also just, after the video is done, you can always go back on demand and watch it again. But kind of the threshold for higher price drivers is we're looking at about 56 to 63 points or higher for the build. And what we're really trying to build is 3 drivers that are going to start and finish in the top 10, preferably the top 5, and then 3 drivers that are of value or have decent place differential. So like a great potential place differential this week would be Chase Elliott starting in 21st. That would be kind of like the Christopher Bell from 17th to 3rd. And then we had a Ty Dillon and Shane SVG at 5,300 and 5,400. And this kind of follows suit all the way across. I mean, you had a Josh Berry at 6,700, and Justin Haley at 5,300, a Justin Haley at 5,500, and a Ty Dillon at 4,900. I think that's kind of where you kind of came up maybe with that Pope a little bit, was that Justin Haley definitely seems to make it, and so does Ty Dillon's in 2, Justin Haley's in 2, Tyler Reddick's in 3. So, yeah, I just wanted to see salaries real quick. Hopefully I gave you enough time to look at those. But, yeah, I mean, you can fit in some of those higher end drivers, which are really what I'm probably going to be building is probably 3 high end drivers, $9,000 or more, and then 3 drivers that give me the best opportunity for place differential. And we're just now starting to get into the under $9,000 range. Look at those. The Joe Logano, I just, starting 14th. It's not a ton of place differential here. He's, even if he gets to like 3rd, has 15 fast laps, and the problem is I don't think he's going to lead a ton of laps. 14th to 3rd gets you 63.75 if he leads 20 laps. If he doesn't lead 20 laps, leads 0, it's 58.75. I mean, the nice thing is you've got some wiggle room for place differential, but with his average finishes of around 15th, and in the last 5 races here at Darlington, he's got 1 top 10, 4 top 20s. I think he kind of finishes where he starts, if not worse. So, I mean, it won't be an all-out fade, but it'll be kind of like a Tyler Reddick. I'll have him in a small handful of lineups. If I pivot from Byron to Chase, I'll have $8,700 left and move off of Zane Smith. Yeah, I mean, if you got, I wouldn't recommend having $8,700 in salary cap left. I don't think that ends up playing too well. I mean, anything's possible because it is Draftkings and it is Nascar, but we had 0, 1,900, 2,800, and 0. So 2 that used all the salary cap and 2 that were $1,900 and $2,800 left. That's with 5. Oh, that's 5 drivers only. So you have $8,700 left over. So who's Ross Chastain's $8,700 starting in 6. I don't think I like the Ross Chastain starting in 6 just because of what lately he has done at similar style tracks. And I mean, this track's been okay. He's got 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s, 4 top 20s. He was in the second group and he actually practiced pretty fast, 13th and 11th. 11.4 average finish, finished 7th in this race this past spring. Practice speeds are fired off pretty well. He kind of missed a little bit on the longer run, so that's a little concerning that his long run speed is not there, especially starting in 6. I'd rather have him try to be able to defend early and have tires left over instead of at about 20 laps, he's just going to get eaten up. Like Buescher and would have $400 left over. Buescher is starting in 15th, gives you some place differential, and he's extremely consistent at these style tracks. So yeah, once again, that's a solid lineup. So Ross starting in 6th. At Darlington, he's got a best of 5th, worst of 29th over the last 5 races with 11.4 average finish. This is the part that's concerning. In the last 5 non-super speedway, non-road courses, his best is 11th, his worst is 39th, with an average finish of 25.6. That's the concerning part, is Trackhouse seems to be really struggling as of late. So that's a little worrisome. Doesn't mean that they can't get out of their funk, but starting in 6th, that makes it a little risky, in my opinion. You know, if we're looking at an average finish of about 18th, best of about 11th, let's say he gets to his best, which is 5th, that's only 43 points. And I just don't know if I see Ross Chastain going out there and dominating this field. Whoa, that's way too many 5s. Let's say he gets 25 laps led and has, 10 fast laps. It's still only 50.75 to finish in 5th. If he pulls off something really good and finishes in 3rd, it's 54.75. I just don't like where Ross Chastain is starting at this point. So I don't know. I wouldn't say he's completely out of play, but he's definitely not going to be in my core group. Yes, Pope, Connor Zilic won again. Hopefully I didn't spoil anything earlier, but yes, Connor Zilic won again tonight. Almost lost it though. They had a late race restart, and Austin Hill actually ended up getting around him. A little dirty, but that's Austin Hill. But then they cautioned and Zilic was able to get him back. So yeah, Connor Zilic again. That's 9 wins, I think, for the 88 team. 7 for Zilic, 1 for Larson, and 1 for Parker Kligerman. So, but yeah, that 88 team is just on fire. It's gonna be fun to watch Zilic to see what he can actually do. I don't have super high hopes for Zilic next year in the Cup Series. It's just a different beast. It's a different car. But I think once he figures it out, he's going to be good. Ole Miss put up 63 on Georgia State. Yeah, that's Georgia State. I think the line on that was like 50 points. Oh yeah, I hit a 4-team parlay earlier for $175 earlier today. That was fun. Bubba Wallace 80. I love college football. Next to NASCAR, it's probably my second favorite sport. So I love this time of year. I could literally just sit here for hours, and I did, and watch racing and college football. I like the NFL too, but I like college football better. Bubba Wallace 8,500 starting in 8th. He was 8th in single lap. He was in Group 2, so 8th in single lap. It's pretty good lap times, and only fell off to 18th in the 15 lap consecutive average. Not bad. One top 5, 3 top 10s, 4 top 20s at 11.2 average finish here at Darlington. All things are looking pretty good here at $8,500. 14 total starts, only one top 5. All right, let's see what your practice speeds look like. And they're not bad, but you only got to like 25 laps. I wish there was more of a long run here to kind of see what he was going to do. What did Reddick do on the long run? That was real kind of choppy. Not great. So, I mean, sometimes you can get a little bit of information from his teammate, but I mean, he fired off really quick and then kind of fell off a little bit. Maybe burned the tires up a little bit more than he needed to. And then they came in. I don't know if they had an issue or problem. I can't remember. So, I mean, with all that being said, I mean, I think this is kind of a finish where you start type of day. We'll give him one spot better to finish in 7th. We'll leave you at the 14 fast laps, and let's say you even go and lead 17 laps through pit cycles. It's still 48.55, and at 8,500, we can bring the optimal line to about 55 instead of 60. That's not going to quite cut it. I mean, even if we dropped it down to 50, that still doesn't quite get it there. I don't know if Bubba's going to be a top 5 finish. I mean, I think he's very capable of being in the top 10 for this race. I'm not sure that it's a top 5, though. So, and I think he's going to be super happy if he goes out and finishes in 7th because he is 2 points to the good. He'll probably be more than that if he can finish in the top 10. So I don't mind the Bubba Wallace play, but he's not going to be in my top core 4 or 5 drivers. He's not an absolute fade. Like, I would rather have Bubba Wallace than Tyler Reddick. So, Chris Buescher and Pope, yes, I think you're absolutely probably right here at 8,300, starting in 15th. Buescher's very, very consistent. I mean, consistent up in the last 5 races at Darlington. He's got 4 top 10s. Only 1 top 5, but 4 top 10s. And one of those top 10s, he should have finished first, second, or third, but he and Reddick decided to get into a shoving match and ended up causing that to be a lot worse. So he would have had a lot better finish in that race last spring than he did. So with that being said, Buescher is very consistent. 11th place average finish, 11.7 average running position, finishing 6th in the spring here earlier this year. Let's look at his practice speeds. I don't love the practice speeds. Was he in Group 2? Yeah, he's in Group 2. It fired off kind of bad and never really got much better than about average. And actually, he was a tick slower than average. I mean, his average line is really, really tight from about lap 10, 11 through 30. There's not a whole lot of variance between these guys. So very, very consistent. The problem is, once you have this kind of same lap times, then they kind of just all run single file, and it's just really hard to pass at that point too. So get what you can early. But Chris Buescher finish starting in 15th. If he can make it up to, let's say he makes it to 5th, 60 points. If he led 17 laps, 15 fast laps. All right, let's starting in 15th. That's gonna be a little bit difficult. So let's just see you get 3 on the off chance you get a kind of pit cycle happens funny, and you only have about 10 fast laps, 54.25. So we're going to need something a little bit better than 5th, but I definitely do not mind the Chris Buescher play. Andrew, seems like all the expensive drivers don't have good 15-lap averages because they're in Group 2. If you happen to miss the discussion earlier, Group 2, the track was rubbered in and times fall off the cliff. So that's exactly the reason why Group 2 struggles compared to Group 1. The green racetrack is very, very fast and very quick until you get the rubber laid down, which happens in about 10 laps, and then times fall off the cliff. So I'm not worried about Group 2 drivers or the more expensive drivers because they all were in the second group. But that actually kind of gives you a more consistent look at what they're going to be in race trim. Yes, Pope, he finished in 6th in the spring. Did I have that? Yep, finished in 6th. So yeah, I think you're probably spot on with the Chris Buescher pick. I think that's a great pick. I like Chris Buescher for probably potentially a top 5, which puts him real close to that optimal lineup. And at 8,300, that gives you a little bit of wiggle room. Oh, Josh, why are you starting in 3rd? $8,100. Starting in 3rd, he was 33rd and 23rd, second group of practice, which, okay, it's still a little slow though. And out of the 4 total races at Darlington, he's only got 1 top 5, which equated to 1 top 10 and 1 top 20. The rest of the time, he finishes outside the top 20. So 25th place average finish, 18.8 average running position. I mean, Josh Berry's extremely good with tire savings. He just hasn't had real good luck, and he finished 36th in the spring. Let's look at his practice speeds. I mean, kind of about the same as everybody else, but you're starting in 3rd. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna put him right there with Chase Briscoe and Tyler Reddick. Does he have a potential to finish in 3rd? Yeah, because he's done it once before. But I mean, odds are that he probably finishes 14th or something like that, and that's just not going to play. And I don't think he. I mean, he might lead a few laps, and he might have some fast laps, but it's still 20. If he falls to 14th, it's 26.35. He's starting too far up. Todd Gillen or AJ for the final spot. Ooh, where's AJ starting? AJ was really, really good in practice, and he's really good at this style track. AJ, super cheap, and he is starting in 22nd. And Todd Gillen is starting in 28th. I would probably take AJ. But you get a little bit more wiggle room with Todd Gillen. So, and that, this is the case where you got to kind of run. If you're running those 20 lineups, you run one with AJ and one with Todd Gillen. And if one happens to hit, then you've got it covered. So that's why I like running in the 20 max, because I can kind of come up with scenarios like you're doing and then run very similar. Oh, you're doing one Uno line tomorrow? Ooh. Okay. And you're doing it in one of the single entry, like the $12. Don't tell everybody which one you're doing, because there's a couple of $12 ones out there. Because you're pretty much giving us all your lineups for now, and yes. Ooh, I still think I like the Todd Gillen. I think I like the AJ play better. I mean, we're going to get to him in just 1 second, but we can take a quick peek at Todd Gillen's speeds compared to AJ's. I mean, they both fired off pretty quick. AJ's long run speed seems to be a little bit better, at least in practice. That doesn't necessarily equate to a good run during the race. But Todd was 6th and 5th. AJ was 7th and 3rd. So AJ's long run speed's better than Todd Gillen's short. Or Todd Gillen fires off faster, but AJ's long run. So I'd rather have AJ that's going to be good over the course of 30 laps than Todd Gillen's going to be good over 10. I don't know. Not sure if that equates to a whole lot, because if Todd Gillen can get in front of AJ and then AJ's stuck in dirty air, he may not be able to pass. So I could see the argument for both sides of it. Let's see, we just finished with Josh Berry. Okay, Kyle Busch almost won this Southern 500 last year, just missing out to Chase Briscoe, and finished in 10th So this is definitely one of Kyle Busch's better tracks, especially in the next gen era. He's got 11.4 average finish, actually, which I think might be one of his better average finishes in the next gen era for a normal oval style track. Um, yeah, let's see, ninth in single lap, ninth in 15 lap consecutive average, starting in 23rd. I mean, we're kind of putting him right there with AJ and Todd Gilliland, but he's a lot more expensive. He's $8,000. So, do I like Kyle Busch over AJ? Not at the price tag. His practice speeds for compared to AJ are kind of right there. They're right in line. So, I mean, they're starting one spot different from each other. Both of them have about the same amount of good luck and bad luck. Meaning, Kyle Busch will typically spin, and AJ will have a mechanical issue. So, take AJ and Ty, team colleague. There you go. Colleague's actually, I've been fairly impressed with how colleague has rebounded this year. It hasn't been stellar, but it's been better than what they were last year. I mean, his best is second, worst is 27th. In the last 5 races on regular style ovals, 11th and 25th with an 18.4. When he's starting 23rd, he's got some room to run, and he's shown that he does pretty well at this track. I mean, I don't mind taking some Kyle Busch. He's, I mean, if he gets to a top 5, he's in and doesn't lead any laps and has 8 fast laps at 60 points. It puts him in the optimal lineup. So, and I think it's, even if he falls to what we consider to be average, which is 11, it's 47.6. It doesn't quite fall in the optimal, but it'd be a good, decent cash play. So, Kyle Busch is a decent cash play. The biggest thing is it's going to be really tough to get to a lot of Kyle Busch if you're running 3 of the $9,500 or more drivers and then trying to squeeze in the remaining salary cap. How many lines, if any, should I put into the $20 100,000 to first? Oh, you're talking about the big boy tournament. I mean, that's the crazy thing is that $20 tournament is less. There's less lineups. So for $20, there's 17,000 lineups that you're going up against. Now it's 150 max, so you've got a lot of money, and you did 150 max. I might just put one entry in just to see, because I don't usually typically run it. Because you're going up against 150 potential other lineups by one person, makes it real tough to try to beat them if you're only running one. It's a bad payout structure. Let me see. Now, if you're putting $20 in to get back your 20, you need to. I mean, it's actually got a better payout structure than the $4 Chrome Horn, in my opinion. Because I mean, you just have to finish in the top 3,600, and there's only 17,000 entries. Whereas the Chrome Horn, I mean, I guess if you have $4, 7,000 to get your money back. So I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I can see an argument for both. It depends on, do you want to take a shot at trying to win 100,000, or do you want to take a shot at trying to win 20,000? $4 or $20. I mean, if you can kind of come up with a perfect lineup, if you can come up with a perfect lineup, you should run it in on every tournament. Heck, run it in the $500 tournament. Yeah, what is that? $500, win $100,000 for first. Going up against 670 entries. Yeah. Does playoff racing change DFS strategy at all? Not really, to be perfectly honest. I mean, because most of these guys want to go and win. I mean, about the only thing it potentially changes, because I mean, the whole thing is still when to get in. I mean, it could potentially change if you're in the chase. The only time it really affects is the final race of the year. That's when DFS gets a little wonky because there's only 4 drivers running for one race, one championship, and typically what happens is everyone else, even if they happen to be the faster car that day, they'll just move out of the way. The only one that doesn't do it is Ross Chastain. But typically, unless they have a mechanical issue, your four final drivers in the final race typically finish 1 through 4. Says I think it favors the losers because there's little to no pressure now, so they can, yeah, and they're also potentially, yeah, the drivers that are on the outside that are looking in have a chance to potentially pull a victory when there might be more eyeballs. For somebody like a Daniel Suarez, you're starting to get towards the end of the season, you still haven't won yet, and you don't have a contract. I look at it like first 110,000, second 25,000, big gap, 100,000. I mean, once again, you want to spend $4 or $20 if you've got the perfect lineup. If you're running one single lineup, I mean, there's less risk because you're only risking $4. Yeah, but if you've got the optimal lineup, you've got the optimal lineup. And if you knew you had the optimal lineup, why wouldn't you just run it in every tournament out there? Because weird things happen in NASCAR. I don't know. So, I do it for what I can afford. Number one, or that I'm willing to afford. Put it that way. And that I'm willing to lose to potentially win. What gives me the best opportunity and odds to do that? Like I run the Little Max or whatever it is, the 150 cent one. I do that one really to give me a wide spread and be able to see what else everyone is running to kind of give me some ideas as seasons progress and as tournaments progress. And I keep all that information in spreadsheets so I can go back and look to see what trends may be happening. That's the reason I really run in some of those tournaments. And I mean, typically if you end up with a good lineup, you'll end up winning a little bit of money in it. But typically, it's pretty tough to really cash on these big lineups. I've done it. I mean, if you watch the beginning of this video, I've won the Chrome Horn before. Now I've probably given most of that money back by this point. I think I'm still up. But either way, I've been playing DFS NASCAR for 10 years. And at this point, I'm probably even to slightly winning a little bit. It's just, it's so tough to win in DFS NASCAR. It's way easier to do NFL. But I like NASCAR more than I like NFL. I like discussing it more than I like discussing the NFL. I like watching the NFL. Nothing wrong with it. But I'd rather watch NASCAR. So that's why I do this channel. All right, let's get to it. Because we're an hour and 39 minutes in, and we still have a long way to go. $7,800 for Alex Bowman, starting in 29th. He is the furthest starting back playoff driver. And he was 31st and 22nd in practice. 23.8 average finish. Practice speeds, about average. And he's starting worse than average. So what's his average finish? 23.8, 20.2. Yeah, Darlington is not one of Alex Bowman's better tracks. He has the best of an 8th in the last 5 races and a worst of 35th. All right, let's put him on the calculator. Let's see. How far does he need to finish up? Probably not going to lead a whole lot of laps if you're starting 29th. Probably not going to have a ton of fast laps because you're going to be stuck in mired traffic. And let's say he can kind of get up to 9th. I mean, his last 5 races on ovals, he's gotten to a 6.4. Darlington just seems to be a real struggle for him at 23.8. But let's say he gets to 9th. It's 57.25. He needs to get to a top 10. Can Alex Bowman get to a top 10? I mean, I think so. He is driving Hendrick, but he also is showing that he is not good at Darlington. Yeah, he's got a 20.2 average finish. He's only finished in the top 10 4 times out of 15 total starts. Sorry, I got something in my eye. I have an awesome NFL lineup for my $5 free ticket. Millie. If it wins, we're all going to Phoenix for the championship. All right, Pope, I'm down. Let's go. Let's go. My wife's family lives out in the Phoenix, Flagstaff, and in between areas. So I definitely want to make it out to a Phoenix race. I have not done that yet. Sorry, I got something in my eye and it's bugging the crap out of me. I'll be all right, though. All right, so Alex Bowman starting 29th. I mean, definitely a lot of room to run, but honestly, it's a little bit of a trap play, in my opinion, because, I mean, his average finish is 20th here. If he gets to his average, that's not going to play either, though. It's too far back. It's 34 points. It barely puts you in the top 15. But there is a little bit more wiggle room. So I don't mind running the Alex Bowman, but I'm not going to be like, oh my gosh, he is a must-have. And I think he's probably going to have ownership that's kind of probably in the 35 to 40% range. Unless you're looking at the stats and be like, ooh, yeah, he's not that great here. Like, I'd much rather go after Brad Keselowski starting in 32nd. Now, his practice speeds were not great, but his average finish here is 11.6 over the last 5, and he's won once. 4 of the last 5 races, he's finished in the top 20. And the only time he didn't was he finished 33rd in the spring race this year, when the 6 car was just absolutely struggling. He's got an 11.7 average finish over 23 total starts, 2 wins, 6 top 5s. All right, let's look at his practice speeds. I mean, fired off a little bit slow, but his long run speed was better than AJ Allmendinger's even, which is actually almost better than most people we've seen. So Brad Keselowski's long run speed is really good. And Brad is notorious. If we have a long green flag run, he'll stay out longer than everybody else. I'm not an Alex Bowman hater, but I don't think he's good. I think week to week he carries more ownership. Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you that. I think he's an average driver, and because he's driving in Hendrick equipment, he gets more lucky than he should. So, yeah, yeah, I'm kind of right there with you. I don't dislike Alex Bowman. I just think he's just like, I think Chris Buescher's a better driver than he is. I think I think Buescher's perfectly happy where he's at, and I think he's good in the 17 car. But I think Chris Buescher's a better race car driver than Alex Bowman. Starting in 32nd, we got a ton of room to run with Brad. He's probably going to be pretty heavily owned. He gets to his average finish of 11th. And like I said, there will be a stint where we have a long green flag run. Pit cycles will start to happen. Brad will be one of the last drivers to come in. And we saw his long run speed was probably better than most. Easily could lead 34 laps. And if he gets lucky and gets a caution at the right time, he could easily stay in the top 5. So I think all of these variables could easily happen, which gives him 70 points. I will have a ton of ownership, but buyer beware, I think he probably gets some pretty heavy ownership. Bob, did you put Brad in any of these lineups that you were talking about earlier? Because I think Brad's a really good play. Just my personal opinion. But I could see why he would fade off of Brad. He's been, he's been actually really consistent lately. The last 5 races, where's that? In the last 5 races on normal style ovals, best of third, worst of 10th with a 7.2 average finish. That's right there with Ryan Blaney. So between he and Ryan Blaney, they have been super consistent over the last 5 races on normal style ovals. And no Brad for me. No Brad for now. Okay. No, you retracted your statement. Why'd you retract your statement? I didn't think there was anything wrong with that. Let's say he loses his seat soon. I could see someone like Nick Sanchez could come up and take that ride. Ooh, that's a hot take right there. Nick Sanchez into the 48. In the Xfinity Series, if I didn't think Allmendinger, or if I didn't think Justin Allgaier was too old, I would like to see Allgaier in that seat. He's like Denny for me, and I love Denny. If I roster them, they suck, and if they don't, they'll be money. Slippery thumb, haha. Didn't mean to. Oh, you didn't mean to delete your message? Okay. But I think there was anything wrong with the message about AB. I think it's very true. So, but in the Xfinity Series, other than I don't like Sam Mayer, I think Sam Mayer would be really good in a cup seat. We know where Zilich is going. I would love to see Justin though. I think Allgaier would be awesome if he were younger, but I think he's perfectly happy staying in the 7 car and doing what he does. So I'm not sure he would ever take that shot. I'm cleaning baby bottles, so slip. Yeah, I get you. Austin Cindric, $7,500 starting in 10th. Honestly, Austin Cindric starting too far up. He's got an average finish between 10 and 20, 18.8. Finished 11th here in the spring. Practice speeds were okay. Pretty consistent. A little bit better than average on the long run, but that's kind of the Penske model. I just don't. It's going to take a little bit of love and finesse, and I think he could be there in the first and second stage. But I think by the time the third stage rolls around, I think Austin fades off a little bit and probably falls back closer to his average finish of 18th or 19th. And also we'll put it on the calculator, but it's negative points, so I don't think he gets a top 10. Even if we give him to 15th, 4 laps led, 3 fast laps, it's more than that, but it's only 25 points. I just don't. His trend line looks pretty good. For the last 5 races, a best of 5th and a worst of 16th. But the problem is if he gets his worst of 16th, that's still negative points. And even if he goes and gets to 5th, what does that end up playing to? Let's see, 5th, 46 points. It's still too far out. Even if you get to his best and you have 10 fast laps, it's still not even 50 points. So his best finish at Darlington's 11th. So I'll fade off of Austin Cindric. There's nothing there that I really, really love. I could see running a couple and be sneaky and run some Austin Cindrics, but I'm not going to be. I won't be any more than probably 5% ownership on him. Carson Hocevar, 7,300, starting in 26. Who knows with Carson Chaos Hocevar? He could come out and be on fire and run in the top 5 all day, or he could absolutely be awful. And his practice speeds, he ran for a long time, and he does this every time. He fires off super fast, burns up his tires, but they weren't that burned up. They were better than average for the long run. I honestly have lost track of how many times I've either done well or bad with Carson Hocevar. It is such a moving target at this point. The weeks I think he's going to do bad, he does well. The weeks that I think it'd be kind of like what you were saying, Dope, Depot about taking Brad. If you put Brad in, he's going to suck. If you don't put Brad in, he's going to do super good. I'm not a fan or hater of Carson Hocevar. I kind of like the chaos he brings. But I honestly, I mean, his practice speeds are perfectly fine. He was in the first practice, which is a little bit faster. And he's got some room to run. But he's just super inconsistent. I mean, he could easily go out and finish. He could actually end up winning tomorrow. But he could also end up finishing top 5. Or he could also end up finishing 36. It's just an absolute hot mess with this guy. And I will probably be somewhere between 5 and 10% ownership on Carson Hocevar. Not a fade, not going to be in my core. So every time I get Hocevar, he does well for me, but I don't think it's at this track. No, yeah, this is a tough race. 500 miles at Darlington it's brutal. It is a long race. It is as hard as the Coke 600 all day long. But Carson's also shown that he can be there for that long too. So, but I honestly think it's probably a 15th place finish on either side for Carson. So it won't be an all-out fade, but it won't be he'll be in my second tier core group. So probably 10% ownership. Probably about the same as Ryan Preece. He was starting 27th. He was in the second group, so his practice speed's a little bit slower, 30th and 34th. 19.6 average finish over the last 5 races at Darlington. He's never finished in the top 10. That's good to know and remember. Practice speeds were not great. He fired off a little wonky. Long run speed was average at best. And in the last 5 races at Darlington, he's got a best of 12th, only worst of 28th, though. So not much worse than where he's starting. And over the last 5 normal oval style tracks, 4th to 35th, 14.2. So let's say he gets to his average of 17th, starting in 27th. What does that do? 27th to 17th. And we're not going to get 100 laps. And we might get to 10 fast laps. 40 and a half. Optimal needs to be 50 points or higher for Ryan Preece's price tag. So he's going to need to get to better than that. Let's see. If he gets to 12th, that almost puts him there. So a top 10 would put him in the optimal lineup. Definitely plausible. I'll probably kind of have him a lot like what I will with Carson Hocevar. Not going to be a complete fade. Not going to be a super heavy ownership. Probably somewhere in the 10% range. Second tier of my core. Eric Jones at $7,000 starting in 19th. He was 14th and 35th in the second practice session. He's got an average finish of 19th and 13.5 for his total career starts at Darlington with 2 wins. And I think both of those came in the Southern 500. So he definitely likes the longer style race here. And in the last 5 races at Darlington, a 10th of his best and 25th is his worst. And it's about the same for the last 5 oval races. So starting in 19th, how far up does Mr. Eric Jones need to get to be playable? 10th is going to do it. He's going to need to get to 6th or 7th. Yep, so 7th or better for Eric Jones. I would rather take Ryan Preece than Eric Jones, even though Eric Jones has better history and consistency. But I could see the argument for both. So don't love it, don't hate it. I think you need someone of the temperament of like a McDowell. What, in the 48? McDowell's too old to go into the 48. They need a younger driver than that. Yeah, they need. I just had somebody in mind. I can't remember who it was now. Yeah, I can't remember right now. Put Daniel Suarez in the 48. Why not? Kidding. No, for tire wear race. Oh, okay. McDowell sucks at Darlington, and he sucks at high tire wear. Sorry, it really honestly he's not good at high tire wear. He's good at super speedways. He's okay on really short tracks, and he's really good on road courses. He is like Hocevar having patience. Yeah. I mean, if you could probably blend the. Yeah, I mean, I think if you could blend Hocevar and McDowell together, you'd probably have a pretty good racer. So Ty Gibbs, 6,900, starting in 16th, third in single lap, sixth in 15 lap consecutive average, and he's got one. He's in practice one, so the faster of the two practices, so that's why he fired off so quick. 13.6 average finish at Darlington. He finished in ninth in the spring. Look at his practice speeds. I mean, his long run speed actually looks pretty good. He was better than AJ, and they were both in the same practice group. He didn't fire off as quick, but made some adjustments, I guess, either in the braking or in the car. But he came back and fired off pretty quick towards the long run. So starting in 16th, got an average finish of 13.6. Can he get to a top 10? Maybe. What does that do, though? Probably not enough. He gets to ninth, 47.4. Gonna need to lead some laps. I don't know. I don't think I'd love it. I think there's too much to ask for right now. I mean, I know Ty's been doing better at these tracks, but he still has a tendency to have some screw ups. So, second tier of the core group, maybe. But even then, that almost makes me feel a little uncomfortable. So, don't love it, don't hate it. I question to go with Busher or Keselowski? Busher's starting what, 17th or something? Where's Busher? Busher's also more expensive, starting in 15th. Kez gives you a lot more possibility of room to run. I would go Keselowski. He's also cheaper. You have more options in your lineups. Even though, I mean, once again, salary cap's not absolute end all. You got to be maxed out, but I would be closer to having 1,000 to 0 left over than the 1,800 or 1,900 that you said earlier. This would be for a lineup for the big 100,000. Brad's going to have higher ownership. So if you're and to do well in that big $100,000, you're going to need to be different. So I would go Busher in that scenario. If I were running a cash lineup, I would go with Brad. Even though I think both of them play well in cash. So SVG, he has said that Darlington is his favorite racetrack. Okay. He finished 20th in the spring race earlier this year. And he finished 26th in the Southern 500 last year. I mean, for his favorite racetrack, I mean, he's showing improvement each race from 26th to 20th. So can he get to 15th? Maybe. Starting 20th, though, there's not a whole lot of room to run for Draftkings. That's the problem I have with the SVG play. Is for SVG to play at $6,800, he's going to need to finish top 7? Yeah. 7th or 8th, depending on whether he leads any laps. And I'm not sure he leads a whole lot of laps or has a whole lot of fast laps. It's just too much to ask for. I think what he needs to do to try to get to the next round of the playoffs is get the 15th. But that doesn't play. It doesn't even play for the top 15 in DraftKings. But if he gets a 15th with his 16 good points, and he's able to do that over the next 3 weeks, the next 3 races, he moves on. If he moves on, the Roval's in the next round. He makes it to the final 8. And Talladega's in the final 8 round. And if he doesn't get caught up in the big one there's a slim possibility that SVG ends up making it all the way to the end, which would be insane. Now, he'll get destroyed at Phoenix. But, I mean, for him to be in the top 8, potentially, that's huge for Trackhouse and SVG. I'm not going to run him in DraftKings tomorrow, but I think he definitely has a potential to have a decent day. I think he sneaky could make the next round, and if he makes the next round, I think he potentially wins the Roval and makes it to the final 8. Same lineup. If I kept Busher and had the top studs, wouldn't I need to get off of Todd Gillen? Or do you think his ownership would be that high? If you kept Busher, do I think Gillen's ownership would be that high? Where's Gillen starting again? No, we talked about this. 28th with an average finish of 16th. His practice speeds weren't all that great. I mean, I think Todd Gillen's ownership is going to be in the low teens. I don't think he's going to be superly high owned. So, I mean, I think you're kind of safe. Daniel Suarez starting in 17th. He's got an average finish of 25th. He was 15th and 26th in practice. His practice speeds are wonky. I don't have a whole lot of interest in this. But to speed things up, I'm not even going to put him on the chart. I mean, I think he finishes no better than SVG, and he's starting further up. So it doesn't play for the numbers. And anchoring would still be Ty Dillon. I just beat your favorite driver, Dillon. Yes. Yeah, I mean, Busher's going to be kind of low owned. Gillen is probably going to be moderate to low owned. I think they're probably going to be about the same. I think they're probably going to both be in the low teens. So I think they're slightly sneaky, especially for that big tournament. But you're really going to need to find the real sneaky pick, which could be Ty Dillon. Where's Ty starting? Ty Dillon is starting in 31st. Ooh, his practice speeds were a little wonky, but he does have room to run, and this is one of his better tracks. So, yeah, I could see that play. Ty Dillon, Busher with Todd Gillen, and then 3 of the high end guys. I could see that happening. Austin Dillon starting in 9th. Thanks, but no thanks. He has an average finish of 24.2. His practice speeds barely ever got better than average. Yeah, no, there's just nothing here. I'm not even going to put him on the calculator. He's starting way too far up. I think at best he finishes 18th, which is 9 spots worse than where he's starting, so that's negative. Zane Smith, part of me wants to go AJ over. I mean, AJ's practice speeds were really good. I really liked his practice speeds, and he, as long as his pit crew doesn't screw him up, he's going to end up having probably a top 10 day, in my opinion. But Zane Smith starting at 24th, he was 20th and 19th in the first group in practice, so the faster of the 2 groups. So practice speeds were okay. He has a 23.3 average finish. He finished in 12th in the spring. 3 total starts with a 23.3. His practice speeds I mean, a little bit of wonkiness between 10 and 14, and that could be he got behind somebody or whatever, but his long run speed was fine. Better than average. Starting in 24th, I don't mind taking some Zane Smith here. Let's see, how far up does he need to get to 45 points? Because now we're under 60, we're $6,300 and under, so 6,500 and under. The optimal line drops down to about 45. So starting in 24th, we can make it up to what, 13th? It's 41.1. He's going to need to probably get to closer to 12th and have five fast laps. Okay, 45.25. So from 24th to 12th with 5 fast laps, and Zane Smith plays. I don't mind having that. I will probably have him in maybe right at the edge of the 6 that I'm looking at for the 6 to 8 people that I'm looking for to be place differential guys. So I don't mind the Zane Smith play. Noah Gregson. God, if this kid would just be consistent. Now at least he got some practice laps in. He was 5th in single lap, 4th in 15 lap. That's good. He's got an Xfinity win here. Knows how to get around this track. He's got a 22.8 average finish. Finished 19th in the spring. That might be his best finish of the year. I mean, and his practice speeds were good. His long run speed actually doesn't look bad either. And starting in 34th, it's not going to take a whole lot to get there. So I think Noah probably ends up being in my core 6 or 8 drivers for place differential and value. Let's see. If he gets to 18th, that almost plays. 16th would probably do it. 16th or 17th would definitely do it. Almost to where his average finish is, 22.8. If he, yeah, I'll have some ownership in Noah Gregson. Now, he probably will have a little bit of ownership, but I also could see where people would fade off him because he's burned a lot of people all year long. Pope says, I like Zane. Yeah, I don't mind the Zane Smith play. I like the Noah play. AJ starting in 22nd. I mean, he's faster in the short run. Now, it was different practice sessions. I get it. But he was still all the way up until about lap 27, 28. He's as fast as William Byron. He's got an average finish of 18th at Darlington. Now, it's only 3 of the 5 last races. 24.5 total average finish. But how far up is he going to... Can he get to 11th? And does that end up playing? So it's not even getting a top 10. 11th gets you to 43.9. So he needs 5 fast laps. I'll take that from AJ, and we'll call it a day. I guess I'm looking for the best $6,000 and below for the shot at the 100. I like AJ, and he's probably not going to be superly highly owned unless you are looking at practice speeds. And honestly, yeah, I mean, it was 7th and 3rd, so that could draw some attention. But unless you're like looking at this chart, which not everybody has access to this or knows where to find this information, it is becoming more and more easy to find. But Michael McDowell starting in 25th. He's just not good here. A 26.4 average finish, 19 total starts with a 25th place average finish. His practice speeds were a little wonky. I'm not even going to put him on the chart. I don't like the play this week for Michael McDowell. You can come back and burn me on that one, but John Hunter Nemechek, ugh. I mean, the problem is that sample size for John Hunter is just not great. He's only got 2 starts in the last 5 races with a 28th place average finish. He's starting in 30th. Practice speeds were, and he was in the first group, so his practice speeds I mean, towards the end, we're okay. He did not fire off really that well. But starting in 30th, I mean, I'll have some ownership with John Hunter. I just don't think I'd love the play. I mean, he and Eric Jones and Legacy have been doing better. How many practice laps did he get in? 32. That's better. I think Eric Jones only had like 24. So, what to do with John Hunter? What to do with John Hunter? The last 5 races look at 6th and 36th with an 18th place average finish. That still doesn't quite cut it, I don't think. Let's put it on the chart. If he gets to 18th, starting in 30th, does that 37.45? It gets you in the top 15, but doesn't get you close to the optimal. I'll take some shots on John Hunter. I probably won't be overly heavy with John Hunter. Now let's look at Pope's favorite here, Todd Gillen. Starting in 28th, he was 6th and 5th in practice. Okay, good practice laps. He has an average finish of 16.6, and that's over the course of all 5 of the last Darlington races. 17 total starts, and he has an 18th place finish. He finished 14th in the spring. All really good stat lines. Practice speeds are pretty darn good. Starting in 28th, a lot of room to run here, especially if he can get to his average finish of 16th. So let's put it on the chart. Get to 16th. 43.5 with 9 fast laps. I may not have that many fast laps. So if he gets to 15th, does that play? That gets you real close. You need a 14th place to get to the probably a decent optimal. I mean, as long as he doesn't have mechanical or end up in somebody else's mess, I think Todd Gillen's a great play. And I think his ownership probably falls in the 10 to maybe 15% range. So it's not super sneaky, but it's not going to be superly highly owned either. So I definitely do not mind the Todd Gillen play. So Ricky Stenhouse Jr. starting in 35th, he's got a 19.8 average finish. This is kind of a lot like Todd Gillen here. 19.8 average finish, 22.7. Never finished. At least in the last 5 races, he hasn't finished in the top 10. He's only finished in the top 10 once at Darlington. So we can't quite go up to there. We could probably get him to about, 18th? Practice speed, we're average. So not great. Starting in 35th, though, if we can get to, what do we say, 18th? Does that end up playing? 43.8. That's really darn close with 4 fast laps. Yeah, like I said, I don't mind the Todd Gillen play. I don't mind the Ricky Stenhouse play. I think Justin Haley's starting too far up. Starting in 13th, practice speeds were, I mean, it shows that he was really, really fast in practice, but yeah, he's just starting too far up. I think he may finish where he starts, but I'm not sure that's probably not going to cut it. 13th. The 13th gets you 30.45. I don't think it's going to cut it. He needs to finish at least in the top 10. I love the Loves car. If I was a NASCAR driver, I want the following sponsors: Waffle House, Loves, Cracker Barrel prior to change. No, they're not changing now. They're keeping the old white dude. They're keeping the cracker and the barrel. So no problems there. They're not changing. Now, I think they may still be changing the interior, but I think the logo is still staying this day. And Quick Trip, just to name a few. And you'd like to drive the 27 car. All right. Or Toyota. Okay. So what you need to do is get yourself an iRacing rig, and you can drive the 27 car and the Cracker Barrel. I saw a meme that said, "Oh, I gotta be careful here." The ball started. Coach changed Saban's office into a T-Mobile store. Oh God. Yeah. Cole Custer, 5,200, starting in 15th. Starting way too far up. His average finish of 22nd. Well, actually, his only finish in the last 5 races is 22nd. But over 8 total starts, he's got a 21.8. I mean, that's actually a pretty good average finish for somebody that's 5,200. But if you're starting in 15th, you're starting way too far up, and especially with your practice laps the way they are. So I'm a fade off of that. Riley Herbst, I just can't with this kid. Until he starts showing any room of consistency, he is being put in the cellar along with whoever the 2 guys that I didn't even put in here. Timmy Hill, who actually ended up having an amazing truck race earlier today. God, was that today? But yeah, Riley Herbst, you are now permanently in the basement until you actually prove that you can finish in the top 25. And your practice speeds are wonky, to say the least. You had a couple fast laps, but you had some slow laps. You're all over the board. I just don't have any interest. You can run him if you want. He's starting in 33rd. There's room to run, but if you can't get out of your own damn way. What a story to take winnings from Draftkings and invest into a NASCAR career and make it into Cup. Yeah, that would be quite amazing because you would need a lot of DraftKings winnings. Do you think 2311 just completely whiffed on Herbst? I think 2311 is almost in over their head right now. I don't disagree with what they're doing, and I hope they win. As much as I am a NASCAR fan, I'm not a fan of the France family. I think they are way too arrogant and way too cocky for their own good, and they need to be brought back down to earth. So I am all for what 2311 and Front Row are doing, and I think they treat the teams like absolute dog. But I think that has burned the Riley Herbst pick. I think 2311 is in too deep. You see it with Reddick, and I think it's just been lucky that Bubba Wallace has done as well as he has. What do I think will come of it all? I honestly think 2311 and Front Row win, and I think that the teams are going to start to earn money. And I think we'll see a resurgence of NASCAR again, back to hopefully its heyday. I may be just absolutely on an errand's fool at this point. That's what I would love to see happen. I think it would be just absolutely awful if NASCAR ends up winning this because 2311 are gone, Front Row is gone, and I think it just is really bad for the sport. Plain and simple. I think NASCAR is way too arrogant for their own damn good, way too selfish, and they don't care about anything else but themselves. And I understand in business you got to be out for number one, but you got to take care of the people that are taking care of you. So, Ty Dillon starting in 31st. I mean, he's got some room to run here. 24th place average finish over the last 3 of the last 5. He's got more than one start there. Okay. But his practice speeds are whack. I think honestly we're probably looking at a 24th place finish and starting at 31st. Let me fix that. So 31st for Ty Dillon. I know this is one of your guys too. I just don't even think that if he gets to his average, 24th is not going to play. He's going to need to get to 17th, 16th, 15th. He's going to need to get to 15th or 16th. And that's his best finish over the last 3 of the 5 races. That's a hill. Especially when your practice speeds look like that. Could Hamlin be some sort of NASCAR commissioner one day, or maybe Dale Jr.? Yes. I would say maybe and then a yes. Denny Hamlin would be the maybe. Um, the Dale Jr. I think would be really, really intriguing. Um, I'm not sure the France family would know what to do with either one of them being a commissioner, but that would be, I think, Junior would be more the opportune. I mean, the crazy rumor is out there is that NASCAR wants to take 2311's charters and front rows charters and give them to Junior, so Junior could start his team. Bob says, I think Jordan and Bubba bring a ton of eyes and wallets, and without them, NASCAR tanks back into the post Dale senior days. Bubba and Jordan definitely do not hurt the brand. Bubba was potentially hurting the brand, but I think that has started to fade, and I'm glad to see it fade. Jordan absolutely helps the brand. And I love Jordan's mentality on everything business. Guess what? People on the left, people on the right, people in the middle, they all buy shoes. I'm not pissing any of them off. I want everybody to buy my shoes. And he leaves it there. Good for him. Yeah, I mean, you honestly couldn't tell where Jordan falls in the political world. I have a pretty good idea. And it's probably not what you think, but I have a pretty good idea where he falls. I think I feel like everyone loves post-career Junior. He loves developing racers and keeps the historical. Yeah. Yeah. The only color MG sees is green, which, I mean, good for him. He's a businessman. That's what he should see. Yes, Junior absolutely it loves the sport of NASCAR. And he loves developing drivers and he loves everything about it. That's why I think you're right. I think you would make a very good commissioner. The problem is you'd have to NASCAR would have to start to listen to him. They listen to him, but they don't listen to him. But back to Ty Dillon, it's just too tough. He's gonna have to finish 15th. I know that it's not a complete all-out fade, but it's definitely on the bottom barrel. Cody Ware starting in 37th. Now I'm not even going to bring up Derek Kraus or Timmy Hill. They don't have the car. Timmy Hill out of everybody probably has. I mean, he finished in the top 10 in the truck race today. So and that's with a truck that literally he and two of his buddies built and brought to the track. So yeah, Timmy Hill's one of the hardest working people out there. And good for him. I'm glad he got the top 10. Help me win some money. Cody Ware starting in 37, but I don't think he's going to have the car to even finish within 5 laps of the leader. DK has Ware starting 36. Okay. I mean, either way, 36. Yeah, it is 36. 37th is, I think, either Hill or Derek Kraus. There's only 38 drivers starting, so 36. This is actually impressive for Cody Ware. If you've been watching this channel and watching Cody Ware's practice times, they used to be all up here, and they used to be all wonky. Cody Ware has now finally gotten to where, no, is he better than average? No. But is he now much closer to the average line than where he was 10 weeks ago on similar style tracks? Absolutely. They're starting to hit on something in this 51 car. And I'm here for it. I love the underdog story. And Cody Ware used to be one of those that I'd be like, nope, I am not interested whatsoever in a Cody Ware. But I'm starting to slowly warm up to potential Cody Ware. To start at $4,800. Let's say he gets to 27th. Probably not enough. It's 24 points. But if you remember, we go back in time to these optimal lineups. 4,900 Ty Dillon for 23.5 points played. Not saying this happens very often, but it does happen. $4,800 Cody Ware finishing in 27th at 24 points could potentially play. It's a slim chance. I will probably have maybe 7 or 8% of my lineups with Cody Ware. But there is a potential that it plays. Ware finishing 27th in the spring. Yeah. Swap Ware for Dillon and get up to Gregson. Yeah. I honestly, I think Cody Ware could finish better than 27th, to be perfectly honest. I think he stays on the lead lap. Now, I don't know how much damage. I mean, they'll make repairs before they start the race tomorrow. And if he has to drop to the rear, he drops 2 spots. Who cares? He did hit the wall pretty hard and got a really good Darlington Stripe. All right, let's break it down. We're almost 2.5 hours into this, so let's get to it. I appreciate it. 191 views so far. Great. 8 likes. Guys, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. I know these are long videos, but I try to be as detailed as I can with as much of this information. And I try to let you know when it's an opinion and not based on data. So, William Byron, let's see, who do I like? Definitely like the Hamlin play. We talked about that. Byron's in, Keselowski's in. Elliott's definitely in, but he's going to be probably the highest owned driver, along with Denny Hamlin, in my personal opinion. Those two might be the highest drivers. Buescher's definitely in play. Kyle Busch is in play. Bowman scares me. I think it's a trap. Don't mind the Ty Gibbs. I do not like the Joey Logano. I'm okay with Priest and Gillen. Hocevar scares me. I really like the AJ play. I do not like Malcolm McDowell play. I don't like the Eric Jones play. Even though he does have 2 wins in the Southern 500. Gregson's really intriguing. I do like the Gregson play a lot. Zane Smith's in play. Daniel Suarez is not. SVG is not. I don't think Ty Dillon is. Cole Custer is not. Herbst is out. Timmy Hill and Derek Kraus, nope. Stenhouse Jr., I could play some Stenhouse Jr. Justin Haley is out. John Hunter Nemechek is maybe. Austin Dillon isn't out. Cody Ware is a slim maybe. Cindric is out. Barry is out. Ross Chastain, probably not. Briscoe, don't love it. Bubba, I'll have a little bit. Tyler, out. Bell and Blaney, in. And Larson is maybe in. So, I guess if I did that swap, that's $6,200 and down. All right, $6,200 and below would be Noah, AJ, not McDowell. So you've got Nemechek, AJ, Noah, Todd Gilliland. There's a 4 right there. Stenhouse could be potentially in play. There's 5. Justin Haley, no. Cole Custer, no. Herbst, no. Ty Dillon, no. Cody Ware, slim, maybe. So you got 4 drivers to pick from. And the best out of those, I'm probably taking AJ because he's going to probably have the least amount of ownership. So that's my pick is AJ. So there you go. All right, guys, we're 2.5 hours in. We're done. Let's see. Next week we are at St. Louis Gateway Worldwide Technology Raceway, whatever you want to call it. It's got like 3 names to it. It is a Sunday race, so we'll be back live. I do not think the Xfinity race. The Xfinity race is it's a Saturday night race. So we will be live after the Xfinity race from Gateway. So probably about the same time, probably about 10 o'clock. We'll discuss the Xfinity race and the Cup race. That was fun. Yeah, I appreciate it, Pope. It's always good having you in the chat. Same thing with you, Andrew. Good luck, and make sure you guys hit the like and subscribe button. I appreciate everyone tuning in. Good luck if you happen to win that big $100,000, Pope. We'll join you in Phoenix for a party. How's that? Either way, it'd be cool if you made 10,000. It'd be fun. And I appreciate everyone tuning in. We'll see you again next week. Thanks. Bye.
Gentlemen, start your engines. 40 cars coming to life.
He still takes the field? Yep. Love it. Get a good deep breath. Get ready to roll here. Only about one thing tonight. Getting the W, so gotta be around the end to do that. Get ready to roll tonight, boys. Go have some fun. Don't get me any more fired up than I already am. All the way to the checkered. You're fine. Nobody's gotta run. Checker time, baby! Really proud of you, man. Drove your butt off tonight. We had the best car here, bud. Yeah, boys. Way to rebound. Great job. Great job, bud. Really good job. Appreciate you hanging in there with us all weekend. What a weekend. Good job. Thank you.